Before we begin, I want to set context. My name is Steve Colino, and what you're about to hear are confidential remarks. This is not marketing material, it's not a public narrative, and it's not designed for headlines or sound bites. This is a candid, strategic breakdown of what's actually happening in real estate right now and why. What we're going to talk about today is not commissions, it's power. It's about how control over pricing, representation, visibility, and decision-making is shifting away from institutions and toward consumers. It's about why the phrase consumer choice has become the industry's favorite shield, even though different players mean very different things when they say it. And most importantly, this is about what this shift demands from agents, brokerages, and leaders going forward. What still works, what no longer does, and where the real opportunities and risks now sit. Nothing here is theoretical. Everything here is already in motion. With that context, let's begin. On October 31st, 2023, the system cracked. A federal jury ruled that the National Association of Realtors and major brokerages conspired to inflate commissions, awarding nearly $1.8 billion in damages. This wasn't a technicality. The jury explicitly rejected the cooperative compensation model that had defined real estate for generations. That verdict didn't just punish the past. It stripped legitimacy from the old system and forced the industry into a new reality. As of August 17, 2024, two rules changed everything. First, offers of broker compensation can no longer appear on the MLS or be communicated through it at all. Second, buyer agents must have a written agreement before showing homes, clearly spelling out services and compensation. Together, these rules an implied value and implied pay. Conversations that used to be avoided are now mandatory. Transparency isn't a best practice anymore. It's the baseline. Since the verdict, everyone has adopted the same language, consumer choice. But the industry is using that phrase to describe very different outcomes. Under the surface, there are competing visions of what choice actually means, and which one wins will define how real estate operates for the next generation. The traditional industry position defines choice as access. NAR argues that sellers must be allowed to offer compensation to buyer agents to keep buyers, especially first-time and lower-income buyers, from being priced out of representation. In this framing, preserving the old structure is presented as protecting affordability and market liquidity. The challenge is that the courts have already ruled that structure anti-competitive. The question now is whether access can be preserved without preserving the system that created the problem. The second camp defines choice as control. Compass, in particular, argues that true consumer choice means allowing sellers and agents to control how properties are marketed, when they're visible, where they appear, and under what conditions. Programs like private exclusives are positioned as freedom from MLS mandates and platform dominance. In this view, the real threat isn't commissions. It's centralized control over distribution. A third faction defines choice as transparency. Companies like eXp argue that consumers can't make real choices without full disclosure, especially in a vertically integrated industry where referrals, incentives, and affiliations shape recommendations. Their position is simple. Informed consent is the foundation of trust. Choice isn't access or control if the consumer doesn't understand what's influencing the advice they receive. The most disruptive definition goes even further. The open access movement argues that real choice isn't about marketing rules or disclosure forms. It's about structure. Unbundled services, flexible pricing, consumers choosing exactly what they need, how they pay, and when. In this model, commissions are no longer assumed. They're negotiated, justified, and earned. For buyers, the journey now starts with a negotiation, before a single showing. Representation must be defined, priced, and defended upfront. For sellers, decisions around concessions, visibility, and marketing channels now directly influence buyer behavior. Both sides are more engaged, more informed, and more aware of trade-offs than ever before. Under the old system, value was implied. Compensation was standardized and rarely questioned. That era is over. Today, an agent's success depends on their ability to clearly explain what they do, why it matters, and how it benefits the client. This isn't about branding, it's about competence. Agents who can articulate value will thrive. Those who can't will struggle to justify their role at all. One major question remains unanswered. Will seller concessions simply roll buyer agent fees back into home prices, changing nothing in practice? Or will costs shift directly to buyers, increasing out-of-pocket expenses and limiting access? With roughly $100 billion in commissions at stake annually, the economic impact is real and still unfolding. Another open question is whether private marketing fractures the market. Research suggests reduced transparency can deepen inequality and limit opportunity. At the same time, sellers value autonomy and privacy. The industry is now balancing efficiency against fairness, and that balance hasn't been resolved yet. Three things are already clear. First, transparency is non-negotiable. Second, value must be explicit, not assumed. Third, the agent's role is now clearly fiduciary and negotiative, including around their own compensation. These aren't trends, they're permanent conditions. This moment isn't about which faction wins. It's about a permanent shift of power toward the consumer. Once people experience real choice over service, pricing, and process, they don't give it back. The winners in this new era will be the ones who stop defending the past and start designing for that reality. These sources document the legal decisions, research, and industry perspectives shaping this transformation. This isn't a one-time disruption. It's an ongoing reset, and one every serious professional needs to understand. This has been Confidential Remarks.